When the best players in the world are compared to each other, people often use statistics as a measure to determine who is better. But there's a problem with statistics. They don't show you how a player actually plays on the pitch. They don't show you those things that some players can't do that others can. They don't show you the magic of football. If there's one player who's all about that magic of football and who's never been about the stats, it's none other than Andres Iniesta. He's not the most productive player of all time, not the very best of his generation, yet there was something about him that made him the greatest of them all. Why was he exactly that special? And why is he maybe even the greatest midfielder of all time? Well, that's what we'll discuss in this video, so make sure to stay tuned. First of all, we have to take a look at what made Iniesta different. For Barcelona, he scored 57 goals and delivered 136 assists in 674 games. Compared to other great one-club midfielders like Paul Scholes with 155 goals and 81 assists in 716 games, Steven Gerrard with 186 goals and 157 assists in 710 games, and Frank Lampard with 211 goals and 145 assists in 48 games, that doesn't really make Iniesta stand out. And it's not like Iniesta played deep in midfield, because out of Xavi, Busquets and himself, he was the most attacking one. Yet, if you ask most people who's the best out of Iniesta, Scholes, Gerrard and Lampard, they will say Iniesta. Why? What made him better then? Well, first of all, he was arguably the most press-resistant midfielder of all time. If Iniesta had the ball, you were basically sure to maintain possession. He always knew where the dangers around him were, and had that good ball control that the ball was stuck to his feet like a magnet. Iniesta made you dominate the midfield. He commanded the ball like no one else, and no one could do it better than him. Also, he saw things that no one else saw. According to Xavi, there have only been two players who sometimes took better decisions than the ones that he would have taken, and those are Pedri and Iniesta. Iniesta's vision was next to none, and he had the technical abilities to execute certain things that only he could really execute at the highest pace of football. This combination of the amount of creative thinking and vision he had, and the technical level of football he was able to play at, just made some things possible for him that are just not possible for most footballers. Also, the ones like Lampard and Gerrard were considered as all-time legends. Passing was for him, with both feet, just something that came natural, and he had no problem playing any pass with one touch and seeing the best option. When it comes to pure technical talent and ball control, it's well possible that there's never been a better midfielder than Andres Iniesta. And yeah, he didn't score that much, but does that mean that he wasn't good at finishing or shooting? In the teams he played in, both Barcelona and Spain, he played in creative roles where most of his duty was to find space, to make his team dominate the ball and to create opportunities. Goal scoring has never been something that he's been told to do. He's never had to make runs into the box and finish crosses, contrary to players like Lampard who were famous for doing so. That is why it's only logical that Iniesta didn't score as much as those type of players. But when it comes to shooting from distance, only dumb people will tell you that Iniesta wasn't dangerous from outside of the box. He could release dynamite from both of his feet, he could place the ball accurately where he wanted it, and when he orchestrated whole attacks by himself, he had no problem being at the end of them and finishing them off. Iniesta's finishing and shooting were astonishing, and his stats don't do them justice. Lastly, Iniesta was the type of player to make a difference in the big games when it truly mattered. He was that talented that, against the very best, he was able to turn into a gear that most players just don't have. That's led him to play his very best games against the very greatest opponents. Against Chelsea in 2009, against Man United in 2009, against Juventus in 2015, against Real Madrid in 2015 as well. Those are only some of the games that he was literally unplayable in. Overall, if you look at his package of qualities, you get someone who is just unplayable and who can do things that no one else can. Iniesta was just that talented that his level of ball control, his level of vision and his level of creativity allowed him to do things that we've not seen from anyone else, and that were most of all just a joy to look at. That is why Iniesta was totally in a different class from any midfielder we've ever seen. But is he the greatest midfielder of all time? Well, compared to players like Scholes, Gerrard and Lampard, he might not be as good statistically, but what he adds to midfield in terms of dominance, creativity and control massively outweighs the stats. And anyone who wants to dominate the midfield and create chances would always pick Iniesta in his midfield above any of these three. Compared to Luka Modric, people might have more doubts about Iniesta though. Modric is, just like Iniesta, a master of press resistance and creativity. He's almost Real Madrid's very own Iniesta. The difference between these two isn't that big. If they both manage to play at the highest level for clubs like Barcelona and Real Madrid for over 10 years and make the difference, it shows that they both just belong at the very top. But compared to Modric, Iniesta was just a tiny bit more genius. The things he saw, the way he could dribble his way past players like Messi himself, the speed at which he executed things, the big games he decided, his dribbling and ball control was really of the same level as that of Messi, to be honest. Messi had just more pace and attacking instincts. But the only player to be as good as Messi at keeping the ball at his feet was probably Iniesta. So Iniesta is probably a little better than Modric. But what about Zinedine Zidane? Well, this is where it gets hard. Both Iniesta and Zidane were phenomenal dribblers, great shooters, great passers, could dictate the game by themselves, and they've both been crucial in the biggest games for both club and country. It's very difficult to stay unbiased here, and I feel like Real Madrid fans will always say Zidane and Barcelona fans will always say Iniesta. An argument a lot of people will throw at you in favor of Zidane is that he was the main star for his team, and didn't play in a team with Messi or Xavi. Well, neither was any team that Zidane played for as successful as Spain or Barcelona, and it would have probably been with the likes of Messi and Xavi. So eventually, the margins between these two are very small, and I would say it's a draw between Zidane and Iniesta. Together with them two, I think Xavi makes up the trio for the best three midfielders of all time. His set of skills is different to that of Iniesta, with Iniesta being more creative, genius and better at dribbling, but Xavi better at passing, controlling the game and recovering balls. It's again really hard to pick one of these two above the other, but Iniesta is without a doubt amongst the very greatest midfielders of all time, and I wouldn't consider any other midfielder really better than him. That was it for today's video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and feel free to share your own opinion in the comments down below. Força Barça, Força Iniesta, and have a good day.